Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Hey, everybody. Most of you know me, but if you don't, if you're getting this on the replay, I'm Amy Izzo. I host Wednesday Agent Power Huddle, Spillin the Tea with Amy. It's okay, Lenora, you can be off video. I get it. No problem. And this week we have a guest speaker, Tisha, and she's going to talk all about estate planning and how she's tied that into her real estate business, which I think is really smart, especially from a consumer education standpoint. So there she is. So I was giving a little intro before you came on.
Hello. I'm sorry, technology would not let me be great this morning.
It happens. Technology does this to us. So I get it. It's a blessing and sometimes a little bit of a challenge.
always, but we make the best of it, right?
We do make the best of it. So I was saying that you were going to be our guest this week. There's Jeannie. You're going to be our guest this week and share with us how you've weaved estate planning into your consumer education and your overall real estate strategy, which I think is super smart. So I'm very interested in this. It is not something that I currently do. So I'm very interested in learning, Tisha, from you once again.
I'm going to put my headphones in because I just heard ambulance go by and I didn't want you to hear that as well. So I hope
we didn't hear it.
Okay, good,
we didn't hear a thing. I mean,
good.
But how could they hear anything over my voice? Okay.
Well, I am so happy to be here. So thank you for allowing me. And I am just honored for this moment of time to chat with you. And I think we had a conversation before about how, I decided earlier on that I wanted to attract rather than chase clients. And I knew that we were potentially moving into a market shift and I needed to do some things to set myself apart. And I actually was invited by a gerontologist, and we were just kind of talking about ways that we could collaborate to provide education and also grow our business. And that meeting led to a breakfast meeting with an estate attorney, and we just kind of mapped out ways that we all could share some information that would educate our community about something that was very important to us, but had a piece of something for each of us. So for me, of course, it's the real estate sales side. For the estate planner, it's the estate planning attorney. And for the gerontologist, it really was helping people find services for older family members. And so we've had online trainings as well as an in-person event. And we actually have an online Zoom event tonight. And I think the Zoom link is in the chat. And awesome. And each of us kind of take turns on like our area of expertise. So the call tonight is Don't Sell Grandmama's House, Ways to Build Wealth with Inherited Property. So I'll kind of be the lead on that particular one. The last month was finding services for your older loved ones and having tough conversations. And maybe the time before that, we were talking about the estate planning attorney about setting up your estate plan before it's too late. So that just kind of has been our series. And I think that's kind of how you and I really connected was how do we use this information so that we are serving, but also is a way to become market experts and kind of show how we collaborate to make sure folks are taken care of, because that's what we do.
Absolutely. Very good.
So I think we talked about this before, that I'm an educator at heart. And I absolutely love kind of educating the community, but also I think that this is a topic that people just don't really want to talk about. So our goal in this was to kind of prevent problems before they happen. And, it doesn't always happen. I've gotten those phone calls from, my husband died, immediately, and the creditors are calling me, and what do I do with this deed? And then I'm able to make that referral, but I'm also able to make that connection. Or hey, I've got a divorce and, I got to pay my wife out from, the settlement, but I want to make sure that this property is for my kids. Let's figure out a way to make that work. Or I got a phone call just the other day from a past client whose father passed away, and the deed happened to be in several of the heirs' names. And we've been going back and forth about, are we putting it on the market? Sisters living there, just kind of like a bunch of stuff happening. But the conversation yesterday was, I think we're just going to sell it to an investor. And I said, that's wonderful, because I am an investor, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want us to think that just because we are educating the community that there's not something in it for us as well, right? Mm-hmm. The first thing I think of as an agent, as an investor is this a situation that there's a property that I can buy, right? Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't work for me, the motivation is not there for that, then I'm going to do the best I can to sell. But there are different scenarios, right? And you just kind of never know. My goal was always just to be a resource. I want people calling me first. Call me first for everything. And let me get you where you need to go. And this is kind of my way of doing that.
Awesome. I love it very much. So that's all. So tell us a little bit about, I understand the setup, kind of how it happened, but give us a little insight into, what kind of information are you delivering? How often are you doing that? How's this working for your business?
Yeah. So as we sat down, the estate planner and the gerontologist and I, we started talking about what are the questions that we get the most often? First of all, it was, what is our format going to be? And so we decided that we would do Zoom, in person. Zoom, in person. So that would make sure that we always had every month something to advertise, right? That we have another something coming up. So that would be a way for us to grow our database. And then the other thing was, we also want to be able to have something in person for people to just kind of meet us and know that this is where we are. So we started off with, okay, this is our format. And then we started brainstorming, okay, what are we going to talk about? So for the first month, we started in January, we started talking about homestead exemptions, right? It's January. So I kind of led off with that one is, if you haven't filed for your homestead, these are all the tax exemptions that are available to you in our county. Each county is different. If you haven't filed, this is how you file. If you need to appeal, this is what you need to appeal. If you fall into these categories, there's extra exemptions for you. And so that's just kind of how it started. And from that start, we were able to take some snippets from that and continue to kind of educate about, this is what we talked about last month. If you'd like the full recording, if you weren't able to make it to Zoom, we'll send it to you. And then we broke that up a little bit. And that was talking points for our next Zoom meeting, which was, I think the next one was estate planning. And what exactly does that mean? How do you go about it? And it was called Tangled Titles. And inherited properties. How do you, when someone passes away, how do you untangle the title? What does it mean? Who has the ability to sell? And so then we had an in-person event where all three of us kind of had a portion of what we were talking about. And then the very next month, it was our gerontologist. It was her turn to take the spotlight. And, we all supported that. It's this time. So after our meeting today, it's been kind of great and organic, because based on the questions that we're getting, I want to know more about this. Can you say more about that? That's how we're shaping, right?
That's great.
The next webinar, the next conversation we're going to have. We're doing that based on what people are asking us. And so we got a lot of questions in our in-person event, well, what do we do? We really want to keep the property, but we don't even know how to go about it. We don't even know how to make it happen. How does this work? Right. And so that was kind of the catalyst for this next conversation that we're going to have today. And so we touch on those topics, but we also allow people, if they want to have a higher level conversation, they have specific issues, we have a way to follow up with them after the fact. And at the end, they have all of our contact information so they can reach out. And so that's kind of how those phone calls happen. And just the other day, I got a come list me. because of someone that was at, the in-person event. And so I'll be meeting with him tomorrow, and we're talking about his scenario, and we're working through that process. I mean, for me, it's just kind of been a passion project, but it's, some agents don't even know how the process works. So I'm educating them as well. So it's just kind of really been a labor of love, but it's also been one of those things where, I remember when I started with Keller Williams and they were talking about lead with value. You've got to lead with value. People don't really, they do business with people they know, like, and trust. And, I was so green at that time. I was thinking that leading with value was giving people a Chick-fil-A coupon, right? As I've evolved a little bit. I mean, and don't get it twisted. There's some value in that, right? But as I've evolved a little bit and I have a little bit more real estate knowledge, and the value proposition has shifted a little bit. And so this is not something that you are necessarily going to be getting a whole bunch of listings tomorrow, but you can. The great thing about, this post-COVID life is that we have the ability to memorialize things through Zoom. So, when someone has a specific question, we're able to kind of break those things down. And the best part, I think, to me, of the Zoom meeting is the Q&A part at the end, because when someone has a specific question, we've got a video for that. We've got an expert talking about that. Let me shoot you this information. If you have more questions about it, let's talk about it further. So it's just been one of those ways that it's like a stack. Over time, you continue to have more content, you continue to have more education, you continue to memorialize yourself, and you're having larger conversations with a broader audience and not having to do more work.
I love that you're partnered with experts in the community too. So there's really like a panel of experts there. How are you all getting the word out for this? So you decided to plan this. How are you advertising it and bringing people into the Zoom, especially the early ones?
So we each have our own kind of we've got our own audience. I have a virtual assistant really has been doing kind of the heavy lifting for creating the advertisement. But I have a community Facebook page, and that information is there. I also do a lot of work on nextdoor.com. It's advertised there. We also have like a community events page that's blasted out to our whole community so that we're able to post that flyer. It's called Douglas County Happenings, where I live. And they have a whole list of all the community events that are going on for months at a time. So we make sure that we're advertising there as well. We send e-blasts out to our database. We have text messages that are going out. We have a Facebook invite that happens. We have an Eventbrite that we send out. So we're advertising it in a bunch of different avenues. We also send postcards out. There's a couple of neighborhoods that I farm. And so that's my way of keeping in contact with them also every month. So it's been a combination. And so it's not necessarily that people care specifically about estate planning as much as they care about seeing me doing something other than asking them to buy or sell a house all the time.
Sure. Yeah. Or telling them what you sold. So
exactly.
Giving them information, and they can decide how they're going to utilize that, whether they're going to need that themselves right now, or they're going to share that with someone else, or they're just going to know that you provide this value. And so you must provide other value as well.
And, I actually love the phone calls from, I got your name from so-and-so, and this is what happened, and how can you help me? It is such a pleasure for me to being able to say, okay, I can connect you with this probate attorney, or I can connect you with, let me see a copy of the deed. Let me see how the deed is written. Okay, let's talk about what can happen next from this space, right? And there is a level of, compassion that I feel for people that find themselves in this situation, because oftentimes you don't know that you don't know until you're in the middle of it, right? And so just to be able to have a conversation with someone, or to, educate them, and they may never do business with me, but they will remember that I helped them in some way. And generally that's where the referrals come from.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I get too many phone calls from people that are already in the situation, and then they're surprised by what that means for them relative to how we now have to handle the property. And it's always different. It's always different, just depending on how things were left. So, yeah. This is great.
So, this is really kind of twofold, right? So we want to prevent some of that from happening because it can be very expensive. And that's kind of the whole point, is like, you don't even know that this is an issue. We want you to know that this is an issue. And, with many of our clients, their real estate is their largest bulk of wealth. And so if things are not done properly, they're going to lose a lot of that just because they didn't know how to protect it on the front end. So we really want to get the word out that we want you to protect it, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we also want you to make some decisions before you're in a desperate situation and you're losing your wealth to maybe someone who's a little bit more savvy than you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Awesome. So we probably have some newer agents listening to this, or just agents that may not have the relationships that you mentioned in their market. So how do you start to get out and create those relationships?
Just like there are newer agents, there are newer attorneys, there are newer inspectors. There's always someone new in the business, right? So part of this is not just you have to be experienced and you have to know it. You can build together. You don't have to go find, an estate attorney that has a whole bunch of clients. You can meet an associate that maybe has just joined a law firm that doesn't have a client. And maybe they're partnered with someone that, you're able to tap in as well. Maybe this is a way for, and this can happen with not just the estate planning niche. It could be in the divorce niche. It can be it could be in probate, it can be in family court, it can be wherever your passion lies, right? You don't have to find anybody who's established. You can find someone and you two can grow together. It can be a lender. It can be whatever you want to educate your community about, or whatever you have a passion for. Choose someone who's there. If you say, I may not have all the answers, but before we have a meeting, before we have a Zoom, I'm going to do all of my research and I'm just going to present what I know. What is so fabulous now is that we have AI. And so even if you don't know, you can use AI to say, teach me about this and let me verify if what AI says is correct. But you don't even really have to be an expert at this point. The information's available to you.
Yeah, I was talking to an agent the other day who was saying, I just don't know what the questions are I get all the time. I'm like, yes, you do. But I said, use AI. Go in and say, what are the top challenges of people that are estate planning? Or what are the top questions a new buyer has in the market? Right? Because it's going to pull it for you in seconds.
Yes, and you show up as a rock star and you can even think of the question, right? There's so much. I think that sometimes, Amy, we kind of get caught up in ourselves and we start paying attention to what our deficiencies are rather than being focused on what are the tools that I do have available, right? What is the little bit of something that I can use to provide some information? 9 times out of 10, even if we're a newer agent, we know more than a lot of people that we're serving. So just focus on that.
Focus on what we know and learn the rest. The best way to learn anything, way to learn anything is to teach it.
Absolutely.
Right? 'Cause I want to make sure I know as much as I can before I try to teach somebody.
Yeah, I don't want to be embarrassed, right? So even, in our presentation today is, I've been an investor for a while and there's just a lot of things that I know, but I didn't know how to unpack it to be able to teach it to someone who may not know. So I used AI and I started, and we put in things like estate planning and building wealth and inherited property. And we put in all these kind of different markers to see what AI was showing us, right? And then we kind of crafted our message around that. And it was like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about this. And oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Or, and you can use a poll on social media saying, hey, if you had a question about building wealth and inherited property, what would it be? And start, answering those questions. Allow the market to tell you what they want and what they need and be okay with it.
Very good. And or to Tisha's point, if it's not going to be this particular topic, whatever your niche is. So I have agents all the time like, I want to do divorce. Okay. Well, you have to start educating on divorce and what that means and what that looks like, and getting with some folks that have the answers to the pieces that you won't, right? So,
and it's funny too, even if divorce is your issue, you can Google top questions about divorce or real estate and divorce, and it will connect you with a bunch of different attorney websites, all kinds of information for you to kind of start with. Someone's already got it done. Record a video about it. Find someone to talk about it, and you don't even necessarily have to partner with another expert. You can become the expert. You can interview different experts in the area. Like, it doesn't have to be a lockstep partnership, but you can ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's good for everyone. It gives everyone a little bit of a spotlight. It's good for everyone. I've never called anyone up and asked them if they would help me educate either in person or on Zoom, and they say no.
Neither have I.
Because there's something in it for them too, right?
Absolutely.
If nothing else, they got their name out to another audience. So,
Absolutely.
Very good. All right. Well, if we want to get started on this, what are some of the key things? Or what are some of the kind of final thoughts you'd leave us with as we wrap up? And I want to make sure we know how to reach you as well. And that reminder, Tisha's got her estate planning tonight. And so that link is in the chat. I see Neil dropping it in again for us. So we're all invited to that.
Thank you. Neil, can you also put our contact information in the chat as well? What I would say to you is just start with the idea. Like, you can just start with brainstorming, right? And just say, you know what would I like to learn more about, right? If something could make me excited about that, I don't know that much about real estate, what would that be, right? And then also be okay with, once you've made that choice, if you get in it 2 or 3 months and you're not really enjoying it, you don't like it, pivot. It's okay. So just start with, for me, I didn't know estate planning was going to be it. What I did know is I want to educate the community somehow, and I don't want it all to fall on me. And then I just kind of allowed God in the universe to kind of make the connection. And it started with a breakfast meeting. Are we compatible? Do we have the same maybe work ethic? Are we still on the same page about how do we feel about, educating our community? And then we started talking about, okay, well, what format will we use? Okay, how will this look conceptually? Okay, so let's talk about what this might look like for the first 3 months. And that's where we started, right? And we just committed to a specific day of the month, a specific time, and a specific format. And then we let things start happening organically, okay? So if you had to have a conversation, given this is January, what do you want to talk about? Okay, from that, what's the next thing you think you would like? How do we kick this off? And we just kind of allowed it to flow. We started with, it's an hour Zoom. We'll give you about a 20-25 minute presentation, and then we'll just allow for a Q&A on the back end. And then we'll allow for the people who, have an additional question to, here's our contact information. We're here. And we also started with a registration link where we sent, after the event, we sent a survey and we said, hey, how was it? Give us some feedback. If there's anything else that you'd like to know, tell us what that is. And I personally, after each event, make a phone call to everybody who showed up and said, thank you for coming. I appreciate what happened. Can you give us some feedback on, what you learned? I think the thing that makes my heart the happiest is how many agents join and teaching other agents, not just the community, but agents have these same issues as well, right? And so for me to market to them to say, hey, this is where we can help you. Here's an agent. Here's an attorney that can help you. Here's some other people. Let me help you get started. And now they're better educated to help their own clients. They have a few more tools in their tool belt. So what I say to that is that it doesn't have to be a formal start. Just start and allow the format to happen organically over time. Again, I can talk about the things that happened with us. But, you might have a different partner and it may show up differently. Is it a community event for you? Can you tag along with a community education event? Can you put something on with like your local commission, board of commissioners? What is it that you can do that kind of shows that you're interested in building community, that you're interested in making sure that you're taking care of people, not just buying or selling a house for them?
A lot of your libraries and community centers want to offer these kinds of classes, any kind of topic, right? But anything that'll give community education. And as long as, they'll usually say to you, as long as you're not selling, and you're not. So as long as you're not selling anything, you're really just offering them information. They'll also host you and they'll help you advertise in your area because they'll put you in their books that they're mailing out, right? And they'll advertise that on their websites or their Facebook pages, just depending on how large they are and what their advertising platforms are. So that's another good thing, to be able to connect into. I know I've been able to connect into that in some of the communities that I serve just through the libraries and the community centers. And that's been very good. And it gives you another audience, allows you to educate, and the referrals come. They just do without you having to ask.
It's funny that you say that because our first in-person event was at the public library. Yeah, and you didn't know that, but yeah, that was because we wanted a place that was centrally located, that wasn't intimidating, that it was very informal. But we recorded it, right, and we had kind of the Q&A on the back end, and we were like answering some questions, and it still allowed us all to show the different aspects of what we knew about what it is that we do.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just doing a little bit of legwork and just making a couple of phone calls and just say, we really are here to help. The business will come.
All right. Tell us the markets you serve. And if we want to refer you some business or get in touch with you, how do we do it?
Well, thank you so much. I am in Metro Atlanta, actually, West Metro Atlanta, in the town of Douglasville, Georgia. Yay, which is about 20 minutes west of downtown Atlanta. I serve the west side of town, and the counties that I serve are Douglas County, Cobb County, South Fulton County, and Carroll County. So 4 counties that are within, 15, 20-minute drive from me. My phone number is 404-354-3846. And my email's in the chat, tcurry@kw.com. Mm-hmm. You can find me on my community Facebook page. It's called For the Love of Douglasville. There's about 1,400 members in that group if you'd like to follow me there. And you can find me on my own Atlanta business page and on YouTube. I'm kind of all over.
You're everywhere.
I'm all over. And if you guys want to join our webinar tonight, so Neil has put the link to the Facebook group in the chat. The webinar is free if you'd like to register and just kind of see how we do it. It's an hour tonight. I think it's at 6:30. I'm not exactly sure, where we'll be going over, don't sell grandmama's house and teaching whomever is willing to listen how to build wealth through inherited property. And you are all invited to join. Also, on Thursday and Friday, we'll be having a boot camp from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on how to grow your business through community education. 2 hours, 9 to 11, free. Awesome. I believe the link to register is also in the Facebook page. Is in the Zoom chat.
I love it. Thank you for that. Thank you for the invitation to both of those. And then those items are in the chat. So guys, if you're here live, go ahead and grab that. And then when we post about this, we'll share those as well. So thanks, Tisha. It was so good to have you today.
You're welcome.
So much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.